Hey, my name is Clint Dupin, and I'm one of the pastors here at Eastown. So thankful that you joined us today. I think the next few minutes are going to have an impact on your life. But before we get into that, I want to just mention a few things. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, whatever platform, I want you to subscribe because I believe the messages that we share are going to have an impact on your life. I also want to encourage you to share these messages because I think they can impact others as well. One of the things I always encourage people to do, if you're in the San Ramon area, I want to encourage you to drop in. In person is always better, right? So if you're in the East Bay of San Francisco, I would love to meet you. Now, our mission is all about bringing the love and the hope of Jesus Christ. Because I believe if you discover Jesus and you choose to follow Jesus, it will radically change your life and you will live in a life of freedom. I want you to consider one more thing. If Eastown has had an impact in your life, I want you to consider giving because we could not do it without the generosity of people like you. You can do that safely by going to easttown.church/give or simply downloading our Easttown Church app and you can give safely there as well. Hey, today is going to be great and I believe it will have an impact on your life. I hope you enjoy.
My name is Evan. I am on the leadership team here at Eastown. I've been a part of Eastown since the beginning, and it's been a cool journey to see it grow. And we actually moved out, my wife and I, and my daughter, who was 10 months old at the time, moved out here about 10 years ago. And I got to tell you, I grew up in a really, really small town. And when I say small town, it was like 1,500 people in this town on a good day. The nearest like mall or movie theater was an hour and 15-minute drive away. Like super, super small. Our like best eating place in the town I grew up in was a place called Tony's Pizza, and it was just as good as it sounds. And that was it. Like we had almost nothing. And we got out here, we kind of moved all over the place, and we ended up in the Bay Area. And I have to tell you, I love the Bay. I love it. I love it for so many reasons. And I know this is like a little bit of like a hot take. Some people don't like the Bay, and I meet them, and I'm like, you're crazy. This place is amazing. We have like mountains, we have the ocean, we have two really cool cities, we've got great food, we've got great people, it's multicultural, there's a great music scene. It's amazing. I love the Bay Area. I've been here for 10 years. I don't think I'm ever going to leave unless I go to Hawaii. But, which is always a possibility right in the back of my mind. But I got to be very, very straightforward with you. There is something that I don't like about the Bay. And it's when I first moved out here, I found out that this was a thing. And there is something in the Bay, maybe you've heard of this, called the Bay Area Maybe. How many of you have ever heard of the Bay Area Maybe before? Have you heard this before? Okay. If you don't know what the Bay Area Maybe is, I'm going to teach you. The Bay Area Maybe is this, where somebody will invite you to something. Somebody will be like, hey, do you want to hang out like next Saturday? And you'll go, maybe. And the reason why you will not say yes or you will not say no, even if you know the answer, is because of a lot of different reasons. One is you don't really want to let the other person down. Secondly is if you do commit to that thing, something cooler might come up between now and then. And so you don't want to necessarily say yes, right? And so you want to also, you just don't want to commit quite all that much. And I found out about this, and I actually, going to be honest with you, I've even used it to my own design sometimes where I'm like, maybe I'll be there. And then something cooler comes up, or I just, the time comes up when it's time to hang, and I'm like, I actually don't really want to do that. And I didn't actually say yes. So I'm not really like letting that person down because I never actually committed to the thing. Now, this, I'm a little bit just joking, but this I actually think points to something deeper that we're going to be talking about today, and that's the power of our words. But you might be new here or you've been out for a bit, and we're talking in here, we're going through a series called The Road Less Traveled, which there's a picture right behind me about this. And this is from a book called The Narrow Path, which is also right there. Big shout out to those guys. They never get any credit back there, but big shout out to those guys back there. They're amazing. They do so much work, and it's only noticed when they mess up, right? And they never do. They never do. But this book, Narrow Path by Rich Viotis, he's a pastor in New York City. is all about kind of based on the Sermon on the Mount. So we've been going through this. The Sermon on the Mount is a message found in Matthew in the New Testament, and Jesus is giving this message. And it's insane. It's easily one of the most compelling, one of the most influential messages ever given. And so Jesus is giving this message, and it's all about, to give you some context, about how we ought to live, right? Like Jesus is giving us this new way of life. And if you read through it, he actually ends up using a lot of language about kingdom. And we've talked about that at Eastown quite a bit. But a kingdom, we're ruled by these principles or these laws or the kind of these ways of life that we follow. And if you follow maybe the kingdom of like success in America and all these kind of things, it was like get ahead and you do you and kind of this, you are the center of your own world, right? Those are kind of the principles and the rules that you follow. But Jesus is coming along to a time and a place where they're following principles like that. And he says, hey, I actually have a new way for you to live. If you follow these ways, if you adopt these principles and these ways of life into your own life, you will actually experience something totally different than before. Like, I'll give you an example of that, right? Like, Jesus is talking all about different aspects of our lives. But if you live a principle like, hey, I'm going to chase success with everything I've got. I'm going to sacrifice time, energy, family, relationships, just so I can be successful, you find out that those things are not really as life-giving as you thought they might be. There's a great quote by Jim Carrey where he's like, I hope everybody finds success and money, and they realize that it actually is not what they thought it was. And so, like, you've got this thing, and Jesus is saying, hey, I want to flip some of this ideas in your head about chasing success, chasing money, chasing all of these things, and I want you to experience life in me. There's a verse in John 10:10 that goes, I've come so that you can have life and life to the fullest, like this abundant life that he's talking about. And so as we work our way through these, we've been going over the Beatitudes. We've been talking about what it means to be salt and light. We're talking about our money. We're talking about how to kind of like manage and direct our anger. And today we're talking about our words. And a lot of people, when they hear this topic, they go, oh yeah, your words have power. I need to say nice things to people and things like that. You're right, that's true, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about honesty and integrity today. Nobody ever cheers when I say honesty and integrity. So let's jump right in. We're going to jump into Matthew 5, and I'm going to read this verse for you. It's also on the screen. You've also heard that our ancestors were told, you must not break your vows. You must carry out the vows you make to the Lord. But I say, this is Jesus talking, don't make any vows. Do not say by heaven, because heaven is God's throne. Don't say by the earth, because the earth is his footstool. And do not say by Jerusalem, for Jerusalem is the city of the great king. Do not even say by my head, for you can't turn one hair white or black. Just say a simple yes, I will, or no, I won't. Anything beyond this is from the evil one. And I have another version of that because I actually think it hits pretty hard too. This is from a version called The Message. Don't say anything you don't mean. This counsel is embedded deep in our traditions. You only make things worse when you lay down a smokescreen of pious talk saying, I'll pray for you and never doing it, or saying, God be with you and not meaning it. You don't make your words true by embellishing them with religious lace. In making your speech sound more religious, it becomes less true. Just say yes and no. When you manipulate your words to get your own way, you go wrong. Now, let me give you some context for this. During this time, people were making empty promises by swearing on certain like religious aspects in society. Like, for example, in the earlier version, it said, by heaven or by earth or by Jerusalem. Like, I swear it, I promise I'll do this. Like, a modern equivalent of this might be, have you ever, when you were a kid, been like, I swear on my mother's grave or something like that? You ever done this? I always did that when I was a kid, but my mom is still alive. So sorry, Mom, I feel bad about that. Or I'd be like, I swear to God, I'll do it. I give you my word, right? That I swear on this or I swear on that, right? And why did we do that, right? It was to make like sure that the person that we were talking to knew that we were being legit. The funny thing is, I only ever did that when I was lying, to try to prove to them that like, no, I really, really mean this, and this is how much I mean it, but I was actually just kind of covering that up. And you might be like, man, in those verses that we read, Jesus is kind of coming across a little nitpicky. Like, why can't I do that? Why is it that big of a deal? And one thing that you have to realize about Jesus, and this is one of my favorite things, is Jesus always goes beyond this outer like behavior stuff and directly to the heart of who we are. Right? It's not just about our outward actions, but it's about our character and who we are becoming. And this is what Jesus cares so much about, is who are you becoming? Are you becoming a person who is like him in his image? And he wants us to know that, hey, you don't have to live this way. You can be a person of integrity and honesty and character, not because he's like, do this, don't do that, because he knows that is the best path to that abundant life that he's talking about. When you are a person of integrity, when you are a person of honesty and good character, he knows that your life actually just kind of flows much, much simpler and easier, right? So let's jump into integrity. Turns out it's kind of a problem. How many of you, if you have children, your kids have ever lied? Right? Yeah, right. It starts out kind of like at a young age, right? Kids lie for a lot of different reasons. And here's the crazy thing. So I did a little research on this. It turns out that people do not grow out of it. In this book called Dopamine Nation by Dr. Anna Lemke, she shares that the average adult tells an average of 0.59 and 1.6 lies every single day. Every day. And in psychology, there's actually something called the lying habit, which is exactly what it sounds like, is that the more often you lie, even small little ones, the easier and easier it becomes for you to do on a regular basis. It actually builds into a habit where you have to work almost harder in the opposite direction to pursue and remind ourselves to tell the truth. And you might be like, no, this is crazy. Are people really lying about that? Are people just kind of like intentionally going around and like actively pursuing lying? And the answer is kind of. But maybe the intention behind it is not quite as nefarious as we're thinking, right? I found that these kind of few reasons that we tend to tell lies are very, very relatable. So I'm going to go over a few of those. One of the major reasons for lying, and I think this is the most relatable, is we fear disappointing other people. We want people to like us, and so we lie to save face. We do it to impress, to avoid conflict, to manipulate, to protect ourselves, all these kind of things. So I'll give you a really key example of this. My wife and I have been married this Friday for 16 years. Thank you. Yeah, you're clapping for her, not for me, that she stuck around. And so really early on in like our dating relationship and early on in our marriage, you're like getting to know each other in that early dating stage. And we're talking about music, and she throws on some, like, if you know who Jack Johnson is, it's like acoustic guitar stuff. And she's like, do you like this? And I'm like, yes, I do. This is amazing. She's like, what kind of music do you like? And I was like, I like the music that you like. Like, this is my favorite kind of music too. And I know you might be like, why would you lie about that? That's something that's so dumb. And it is. But I just found myself in those moments being like, well, I don't really want to really share what I like. I don't really want to open myself up to the criticism. I want her to like me. And if I share that my favorite music is people screaming, which is true, I really do like that kind of music, then she'll kind of be like, what the heck is wrong with you? And she'll go, and she'll leave, and she won't like me, and all those kind of things. And I believe that little story is true for a lot of us in a lot of ways. Is that when people are asking us about ourselves, when we are in these positions where we have to choose to almost like save face or be liked, right? We want to be liked. We want to be approved of. We want to be validated. We want people to not engage in conflict with us or kind of like bare our souls. But the crazy thing is this, is that when you are actually most honest, that is actually how we get closer. We get closer through our brokenness, through our openness, right? Any relationship that's worth anything, you know that the depth of it is because you have been fully honest with that person, that they know you and love you, even in spite of those things that maybe you are like, ooh, that's not something I really want to share with people. But I get it. We run into this position a lot where we have this fear of disappointing other people, that they won't quite like us, and so we escape that thing with a lack of integrity or a little bit of dishonesty. The second reason is this. We often are living life on the go. We're so busy, right? And we're going to talk about this in July here at Eastown about just kind of taking a rest, about slowing down. But when people ask us something, right, we're like, hey, will you be a part of this? Or do you want to kind of like come and do this? We just go, yes, 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 right? We're so quick to kind of jump on and add more things to our plate and kind of like fill our schedules and be busy or whatever that means, that we overextend ourselves. And we actually have to take a moment. I've learned this in counseling. No surprise, I'm in counseling, where I I was so quick to reply to people that I would catch myself in lies. They would be like, hey, do you want to come and do this? I'm like, yep, that sounds great. But I didn't actually take a moment to pause and think about if I could actually do that thing or be a part of that. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, if you know anything about that, and that just means we're in for a good time. So like if someone invites me to do something fun, I'm like, yes, I'm in. And then I'd go back and check with my wife or like the schedule, and she's like, you have 17 things that day. You can't do it. And I'm like, but what about 18? And it didn't, and I have to double back to that person and be like, hey, I'm so sorry, I actually can't do that thing. And I'm slowly eroding my trustworthiness, and my word means almost nothing because I'm just moving so quickly. And so I learned this trick in counseling. It's so simple, where my counselor said, stop. Just literally say the word stop to yourself, not out loud. Stop and take a moment before you commit to stuff. Stop and think about what you're going to say. It's like I know my parents said to me when I was a kid, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And it turns out it's true. And take a beat just before answering so that you don't catch yourself in a lack of integrity or lack of honesty. The third reason is this, right, is we actually also have a culture of superficiality. It's a big word. So we don't want we lie because we don't want people to, dislike us or not approve of us. The second reason is we're kind of like so busy, we're living life on the go. And this third reason, this culture of superficiality, there we go, is this. A lot of times people go, have you ever done this? I know you have, because I've done it too. Where someone comes in and go, how are you? Like, how's things going? How's life? And what do you say? Good, fine, I'm great. And your life is a train wreck. No offense, right? Like people check in with you and you go, yeah, I'm great. I'm doing well. Busy. I'm fine. Whatever it might be, right? And we actually don't become fully honest with people. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that someone's like on the street and like, how are you? And you're like, oh, my life's a train wreck, right? Like my marriage is in trouble. I'm not saying you just do that with some rando. But I am saying that with the people who you are in relationship with, are you actually being open with them? Because when you do that, you actually step deeper into a relationship. And I promise you can experience freedom. I've found this in my own life that I'll share a little bit later. But what if someone, when they did check in with you, like, hey, how's things going? You said, hey, you know what? My marriage is actually really struggling. Hey, I'm really lonely. Or, hey, I'm really struggling with alcohol right now. I just can't seem to stop. Or I've got an addiction I just can't shake. By being open and honest with somebody, you actually begin this journey towards freedom. In Alcoholics Anonymous or NA or SA, all these addiction programs, there's a key foundation in all of them. When you join them, there is something called rigorous honesty. Like it is a foundational thing. They will not let you can keep going, but you're just wasting time. But if you want to be healed from the thing that you are struggling most with, they say, you've got to be honest. With at least one person in your life, you have to be fully yourself and honest. They have to know you. And if nobody knows you in that way, I promise that you're not going to be able to experience freedom because there will always be this part of you that you're holding back and hiding. And look, this is a challenge to us as a church. Is there somebody in this church, in our community, for us to become honest with, right? This is a call for all of us to move past kind of like, hey, how are you? Nice to see you. Great coffee this morning, into actually deep relationships that harbor community and harbor trust. If you are going through something, is there somebody that you can call and say, I'm in this dark place. I'm in this low place. And you know that they've got your back. They know that they're there for you, right? And here's the thing. Those three reasons I think are key. And I think they're really relatable. For me, I was like, I've hit all three of those before in my own life, and it's caused me to live a life of, a lack of integrity, a life of dishonesty. And I want to tell you that there's this thing in culture right now. I teach high schoolers, and sometimes they're like, what's the big deal? Like, what's a little, you've heard the term white lie before, right? Like, why is that a big deal? Isn't it just better for me to just kind of like avoid conflict, or which is I resonate with? Isn't it better for me to just kind of like not hurt their feelings by just telling a little white lie? And here's the danger of living lies, is that we eventually believe them and become them. When you live a life of dishonesty or have a lack of integrity, it is literally like the spiral downwards. I went hiking a couple weeks ago up in Northern California, and I was jumping in this river with some friends, and it was like 42 degrees, which was awesome. But and there was this big rock in the middle of the river, and the river was going against it, but it had split like in half. I was like thinking to myself, like, how crazy is that this huge rock had split in half? And the reason that it had split in half is because over time, this water had beaten against it so long that it had eroded and split and cracked in half. And I'm going to tell you that little lies are like that crack in the rock, right? And they become bigger, and they become bigger, and they become bigger until eventually your life will quite honestly split. I know this from personal experience. I'm going to share a little bit about that in a little bit, but because over time, you cannot let these things get a foothold in your life. You have to cut out dishonesty. Practice rigorous honesty. I've been climbing with, he's right there, my friend Josh. I've been doing this like bouldering thing. He's so good. It makes me annoyed. I'm so bad at it. But and he'll get on this little wall, and there will literally be like a 1 inch by 1 inch thing, and he's got it like this, and then he climbs to the top. And I'm like, how did you do that? But I think about that little tiny thing that grabs on, and sin in your life is like that. If it gets this little grip in your life, it will be able to go to places that you don't want it to go. And there's verses in the Bible that talk about don't let it get a grip. Don't let it get a foothold. Don't let it get a handhold in climbing talk. Don't let it have a part of your life. And so you might be thinking, okay, great. You've hit these things. You told me 3 reasons why people lie. You told me that it's really dangerous to lie. We shouldn't do those. So what should I do? Let's jump into Ephesians, because I think Paul is really good at giving direct advice. Check out this from Ephesians 4:25. Stop telling lies. Yeah. Let us tell our neighbors the truth, for we are all parts of the same body. And so what does it look like in our lives to be people who don't tell lies, who tell the truth, who are honest, who have integrity? I'm going to give you 4 things. One is we say what we mean. When we are talking to people, we do not kind of like create this like, oh, like I'm going to kind of like dance around it, almost like a little bit. Brett this morning was talking about political talk, right? Where it's like, here's the thing, but I'm going to dance my way all around it before I actually say it. We are people who say what we mean. Number 2 is we do what we say, right? We actually become people who follow through, people who have character and integrity. So 1, we say what we mean. 2, we do what we say. And 3 is we say the same no matter who we are with. I think this one is a huge problem in society, to be quite honest with you, where we turn and we say one thing to somebody, and we turn and we say something totally different to somebody else, where we are living almost like double lies. Or we present one way, maybe in church or maybe at work, and present a totally different way within our families or by ourselves. There's a great author and priest named Ronald Rolheiser, and he says this: we are as sick as our sickest secret, and we are as healthy as our most private virtue. We cannot be doing one thing in private and radiating and professing something else in public. It's got to be one and the same. And this is a bit of a challenge, not just for you, but for me too. Am I somebody who is the same in every single situation, where I am open and honest, and I'm not curating this version of myself so people will like me and I can avoid conflict and all those things, but then I've got this kind of like dark shadow self over here, and I'm living this double life, because I, just like the rock in the river, will split. It will end very, very poorly. And by the way, Jesus knows this. That's why he hits this so hard, right? About our vows, our words, our integrity, our character, our honesty. And the 4th one is this, is we speak the truth in love. And this is also from Ephesians, right? It says, instead we will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of his body, the church. I think this is really, really important. And that's why I ended on the 4th one with the speaking the truth in love. Is you don't walk away this morning and be like, okay, I'm going to be radically honest and practice rigorous honesty and tell that person how terrible they look today, and all those kind of things. That's not the thing here, right? We are actually known hopefully, by the way that we love other people, right? When we practice speaking the truth, but letting love arrive first, we can still salvage relationships. We can still be a part of building healthy relationships by being direct and honest. Those things are so important. I have found, I'll keep using my marriage as an example. I found this in my marriage, right? Obviously, if she's like, do you like this outfit? I'm like, no, it's hideous. That's not really very loving, right? It might be true, but it's not very loving. I can say it's not my favorite and still be direct, but we have to practice this in our lives on a day-to-day basis about loving other people with our truth. And I'll be honest with you, this is hard for people to experience sometimes, because if you're on the flip side of this, it can hurt sometimes. I have had friends in my own life tell me the truth in love, and it actually really hurt me. But that's not because they didn't care. I do this to my kids, where I'm telling them, like, you cannot act this way. The path they're 8 and 10, so it's not that big of a deal, right? Yeah. But like, hey, you can't treat your brother that way. You can't treat other people like that. You can't take this. You can't do that. I'm telling them the truth, but it's because I love them. And so what I want to ask you to ask yourself this morning, like, what relationships are you in where you have the ability to speak truth in love, but you haven't chosen to do it because you're afraid of hurting feelings? Sometimes the most loving thing to do is to speak directly to somebody. I've had friends in my own life do this to me, where they've come along and said, hey, you're really off. You're off base. Like, you're not, you need to get right. And I was like, hey, don't talk to me like that. That hurts my feelings. I'm offended. But it was the most loving and kind and gracious thing that they could do in that situation. And here's the thing. I'm going to wrap this up with this idea. I want you to know that lies and dishonesty are a trap and a prison. And every time that you fall deeper into that lying habit, every time that you tell maybe just one more little white lie to get people to like you to avoid conflict, you put up almost like another bar in this prison that you are building around yourself. And Jesus wants to set you free. Jesus knows that the key to getting you out of that little cell that you have built yourself is actually, he has the key, is honesty, is integrity. And he wants you to open that and be free from it. I told you that story about early on in my marriage, about just, and my dating, just not being honest about what kind of music I liked. And what's fascinating is it started so small in my life. It started so simple, so inane almost, about something like musical styles, right? But because I lived it and I curated this version of myself, I almost created two pieces of me, where I liked this other stuff and I wasn't honest with my wife or my friends or the people in my life. And it spiraled, where I ended up living a double life, where on the outside, on the surface, at work and those kind of places, you would have been like, that guy's got it all together. But inside, I was honestly living a total lie. And I was making all kinds of unwise choices. I won't go into the deep, dark, dirty details. But I was trapped in a life of deception with my wife, with my friends, where I was hiding this part of me. And I remember hitting rock bottom. And everything came out. All the things that I had been hiding, all the lies and the deception, all the double life, it all came out. And that's a low point, by the way. But it's cool because they say, once you hit rock bottom, the only way is up. And I remember this really weird feeling as I was confessing, which there's so much power in confession. As I was sharing with my wife, as I was sharing with people, I felt this really weird freedom. I remember feeling light. I remember almost this weight on my shoulders and my back had disappeared, because I said I was like, hey, here it all is. Here's the worst part of me. Here's the thing that I have been holding on to and hiding for 15 years. Here it is. And just like I told you before, the thing that you think people will leave you and hate you and dislike you for actually brought me closer. My marriage has never been better. My relationships are so much stronger. I've got friends of mine who call and check in like on a deep, deep level because I experienced this freedom like I've never experienced before. And there's a beautiful verse in Galatians that goes like this: Christ has set us free to live a free life. So take your stand. Never again let anyone put a harness of slavery on you. Look, lies are a weight on your shoulders. And the more you do that, the harder and heavier that weight becomes. And I want to tell you that there is freedom for you. There is freedom for me. I've experienced that freedom firsthand, and there's nothing like it. So maybe in this morning, there's something in your heart or in your mind that you go, I've been holding on to this. This is the thing that I've kind of held back from people and not been rigorously honest with. I would encourage you to find somebody in your life who you can share that thing with, who you can be fully open so you can experience that freedom that Jesus is talking about. This has been one of the key things in my life. A lot of times you hear it in churches, right? Jesus came to save you from death. You're going to go to heaven one day. You're going to live forever. And that's true. But Jesus did not just come to save you from death. He came to bring you new life. And when you experience that freedom in him, you can experience this new life, this weight off of your shoulders. And I would encourage you, if you're in the room and this is resonating in your gut, in your heart, wherever, I would encourage you to just take one little step this morning. That step of confession, that step of sharing maybe that part of you that you think no one's going to love, and watch what God does. Let me pray. God, we thank you for this morning. As we take a moment to reflect, God, I pray that your Spirit moves in this place and you show us maybe that part of ourselves that we've been hiding, that you want to set us free. You want us to leave that prison. And God, I just pray for the person in this room who maybe this is resonating with. God, just pray for courage for them, that one step, and they realize that there is freedom to be found in you, and that you've came to give us new life, not just to save us from death, but to give us life. Amen.
We hope you enjoyed today, and thanks again for taking the time just to tune in. If you have any questions about Eastown or what it means to put your trust and faith in Jesus, we have many resources available on our website. If you have more questions than what you can find on the website, simply email us at info@eastown.church, and we would love to connect with you. We believe the church should be making a positive difference in your life and in the community in which we exist. And we can only do that through people's generosity. If that is something you would like to do, simply visit eastown.church/give. And again, thanks again for joining us. Tune in next week. Or hey, better yet, visit us in person. Have a great day.